guys, and welcome back from another lockdown edition from Carly at the Herbothecary, the head forage monkey and herbothecarist. Today we are locked in with the kids and just having a little fun in the kitchen. So the usual disclaimers: I am not a doctor or an ethnobotanist. Always do your own thorough research. Don't eat anything unless you're 100% sure, and don't just take my advice even if I'm not using it. So as I said, today we will be trying a few different ways of extracting the goodies out of our plants, from cold water infusion, alcohol infusion, turning that into a facial gel. We're going to make some jam. We're going to try cold enfleurage, which is just pressing the flowers in. This, I want the smell of the lilacs mostly. We're going to try some hot oil extractions, and I've got a pot of nettle stew cooking on the stove. So it's definitely a nettle stew day out there today. Very different to the beautiful sunny day it was 5 days ago when myself and the forage monkeys used our hour exercise time and wandered across some sticky willy or cleavers. And as this tincture infusion takes about 3 days, we got started straight away. Now, I did take the little tips and keep them for a cup of tea, as they're quite yummy, but the rest we just picked off the bits and then got them ready to go in our jar. Now, not only is it believed that internally they are great for the lymphatic system and help with urinary tract infections, it is also known, or they have been used in history, topically to help with skin ailments. So the cleavers have both water soluble and alcohol soluble elements to it. So what we're going to do today is use a half alcohol, strongest vodka you can get, and half I used filtered and then boiled and cooled water, as I couldn't get hold of distilled or anything like that. So we'll just pull off these tips. And then we want to give the rest of the plant matter a good squeeze and squash, releasing as much of those active ingredients as possible. Squish them down tight into the jar and completely cover with your alcohol water mixture. Now obviously you can do these two processes separately, however I've never found any problem with combining the two, as the end item that I use requires both water and the alcohol in it. Pop on the lid and pop it in a dark cupboard for 3 to 5 days. So it's 5 days later, it's raining outside, and I thought now would be a good chance to use the last of my leftover fruit to make a jam. Mine's going to have a slight spice to it, but it's still jam. So I have about 3 cups of pears and about 2 cups of plums. And I've popped them in with just enough water to have covered the entire bottom of the pan, because of these have been frozen and they also have a high water content. You don't need to add that much water at this point. And while they're slowly defrosting, I'm going to pop over and use those sticky willy tips with some nettle leaves I had, and we are going to have a lovely cup of tea while we contemplate which project we should do next. Obviously we don't use boiling water, as that just destroys the plant matter. Also allow it to steep for about 10 minutes, and I like mine with fresh honey. And then back over to our pot to see how our fruit is coming along. And it's still not soft yet, so we're gonna give that another stir around. As you can see, the peels are coming off slightly at this point, but they're still not quite ready. This process can take quite a while, as we don't want to heat the temperature very high. We just want them to soften slowly, so we keep all the goodies inside. So it's time to distract ourselves, and we are going to try another extraction process. This one is called cold enfleurage, and we are going to be doing it with some of those lilacs that I harvested from my neighbor's beautiful bush. And we are going to Heat some coconut oil up, you'd like it liquidy, allow it to cool, and then over to our compression units. Now I've just got 2 bowls that are the same so that they fit into each other. And I'm going to put just a sheet of plastic down first, and then we'll pour in our coconut oil and allow that to set, as we don't want it warm and we don't want it liquidy when we put in our plants. So yep, I popped this first layer in the fridge for about 10-15 minutes just for the coconut oil to solidify again. And while that's happening, let's go over and check how our fruit is doing. Now, I like mine a little spicy. These are just sweet chili peppers. I put them in right at the end as I don't want them to get too soft, as I'd like to be able to strain them out completely. I don't want them mixed in with my finished product. So I'll allow them to soak in on low heat for another 20 minutes or so, and we shall go back to our lilac flowers. So now that that coconut oil is set, what we want to do is fill this with as many of the little flowers as we can and push them into the coconut oil as you're going. And then we're going to pop another plastic layer on top, put our other bowl inside, and pack it down as tight as we can. You can then wrap it in cling film or kitchen wrap, and I pop mine in the fridge for another 10 minutes just to allow it to solidify more, as the heat of your body would have melted the coconut oil a little bit. So we'll wrap that in cling film and then pop that into our fridge and then go check on our fruit again. Back over at our pot, and our fruit is finally soft enough to just smush underneath the spoon. So now what we want to do is put it through a sieve and remove all that excess pulp. Once all the pulp has been removed, back into the pot it goes, and bring it to a temperature hot enough to melt the sugar that we're going to add. But first of all, I add in 1 large tablespoon of lemon juice. That allows to bring out the pectins. That's what solidifies it. It also brings out the flavor, and as we're now going to be adding sugar, it helps to neutralize the sugary taste. Now, the amount of sugar you need depends on everything to me. Depends on what kind of fruit you're using, how fresh the fruit was. I use about 1 teaspoon per piece of fruit. So I had about 6 cups in there. I've used approximately 8 teaspoons of sugar in mine, and we're going to keep mixing that until that sugar's nice and melted. At this point, I'd stick a small plate in the freezer and allow this to continuously heat on slow. Just don't forget to keep stirring as you go, as you don't want it to boil yet, and you definitely don't want it to burn onto your pot. So we'll distract ourselves again while that's heating with some of our other new toys, and I will move on to the heated oil extraction methods. Here I'm using some marigold flowers, and we're going to be turning this into a balm. So that's just soaking the flowers in the oil and heating it slowly. I added some beeswax once I'd removed all of the plant matter, and then I did the same with the dock and the nettles in order to make the anti-sting balm. Now to finally filter out the cleavers, and we need that alcohol water concoction that we made, and we are going to use gelatin. I'm using a normal food gelatin, which I know isn't vegan friendly, but it's the only one I have at the moment. You can use agar, a seaweed based alternative. There are many out there. So following the instructions of your particular gelatin, I used 75% of the fluid that it advised, just in normal water to mix the gelatin, as remember we are going to add the alcohol mixture afterwards, and I don't want mine to be too firm, so give it a good mix until all the gelatin crystals are absorbed into the water. And once they are completely dissolved, it's time to add the balancing amount of fluid in your tincture that you made earlier. Mix that in, and once it's cooled slightly, it's time to stick it into a container. Remember, always label, date, and refrigerate. And now we're almost done, so over to your freezer to get your cold plate and grab a spoon, pop some of your jam mixture onto the plate. If you can wipe your finger through it without it rejoining together, it's absolutely ready. If not, heat with some more sugar. If it's too sweet, you can add some more lemon juice. But again, remember, label, date, refrigerate. Hope you guys like this. Obviously, if you don't like any chutney or you don't like the spice in it, just keep the chilies out. And other than that, it's just jam. Thank you for coming back to the Herbothicary. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like and subscribe to show your support.